All right. How are you, Pete? How you doing?
Good man. How about you?
Doing fine as well. I'm looking forward to this episode. But this is something we should
Yeah,
have
me
a long
too.
time ago, I feel.
Yeah.
Um, and with a nice outer, more external point we can discuss, which is like cosmology and physics as well, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Okay.
we're talking about Annihilation today, a movie that we
Mhm.
both watched. I think before we start getting into a deep talk about the topic, we need to explain for anyone who hasn't heard of the movie what it's about
Sure.
and give it a synopsis. I think you're best fit to do this because you're good at this, very good at this, in fact. So
I'll take it. Thanks.
whenever
I'll
you're
do
ready.
it. Yeah.
Plus, you have a better memory than I have. I've noticed, but so
With
sorry.
films, yeah, I have like a ridiculously good memory, but just with films. So, okay. So the reason we want to do this episode first and foremost is because we actually want to talk about a wider point, which is about cosmic horror, specifically in films, and not necessarily horror, but the existential aspects that come when films deal with cosmic concepts of this scale. I think the inspiration for this came because we watched The Empty Man, which is another episode that we made a while back. Check it out for sure if you haven't. We made an episode about that, and it kind of rekindled our interest in cosmic horror. And one of the most recent films that we can think of that like really fits that label is Annihilation. So that's why we're doing it pretty much. Yeah. Annihilation is a film about this biology teacher, I believe. She teaches genetics, more specifically, at a university. And she's well, not exactly widowed, but her husband, he was a soldier. And he was the type of who got sent to do various like covert operations of that sort. So sometimes he doesn't necessarily know where he is, etc. And basically, he's MIA. He's missing in action. He's been AWOL, whatever, missing for a considerable amount of time. And it's reached the point where pretty much everybody's telling her that she should move on because he's probably dead. And the movie starts out where it takes a snapshot of her life showing how she's dealing with the grief, and how she still can't really move on and accept that he's died. And suddenly, he re-enters her life in a very, very dramatic fashion. But it's clear that there's something mentally not right with him. And then he passes out, and this group of this militarized group of we don't even know what they are, but it's clearly like some kind of really high skill, maybe scientific group. They ambush them, and they put the guy in the ambulance, and they take him to a secure location. And at first they say it's to prevent maybe some kind of infection of some sort. So already there's clearly something deeper under the surface talking about infections and militarized scientific groups of that sort. And whatever, there's more exposition. And then we learn that the area of the place where her husband was sent into is this kind of sphere, or what they call a shimmer, which began from one point on just one point on this planet. Kind of like a tumor or a cancer, it spreads and changes the biological genome of everything around it, and it's spreading at a slow pace, but it's definitely spreading. And they've sent several teams to go into this location to figure out what's going on. You know, they have no idea what's up, and they never get any useful information because all communications are lost when they go into this shimmer. And the people never come back. Either they don't know why, but they assume because they die of maybe some kind of exposure to radiation. They don't know. And there's a deeper story in regards to the relationship between the main character and her husband. I'm not going to get into that now, but because of something that she feels responsible for, she decides to go into the shimmer with a new team, to just discover what this thing is. And that's already an incredible setup for
Yes.
a lot of crazy shit to happen.
Can I just say, hey,
yeah.
Pete, that's amazing. You must have watched the movie today or yesterday. Your
No.
precise explanation of all the details was really good, and I forgot
Thank
about a lot of
you.
the setup parts. You know, like they just come back to you like in a flash now. So
Yeah, I was worried that it was a bit too long-winded, but I don't think I spoiled too much. I think I just gave the setup.
no, you
Yeah,
did. You explained the setup really well, but
yeah,
like what I was thinking about before you began speaking was really the moment from when you mentioned the shimmer, because that's for me when the movie really kicks off, and then
yeah.
that's when it starts. But you remembered all the detailed starting points, which I completely forgot. Nevertheless, so
Okay.
the shimmer itself is the most intriguing um, first things that comes to your view and pleasure, right? It's the first
Yeah,
thing that grips you, right? You know, it's something that's completely alien. Um, you know, like I'm not really too interested in what the authorities try to deal with it, because they kind of nickname it with a code. They put it under classified intel and let
of
only certain
course.
people go in,
Yeah,
etc., etc. I don't think that's what's fascinating. I think what's fascinating is how it changes the laws of physics within the temple, within the area, the dome.
yeah.
And I'm trying to recall. So if you could remind me as well, if I forget anything, what kind of things it changed? So it changed.
It's
Uh,
purely biological. That's what it does. It
yes. Yeah.
changes the DNA of the living organisms that surround it, or anything, pretty much, which can lead to some really fascinating things, which are kind of biological aberrations, like how crocodile, like there's a crocodile in the film which develops shark teeth, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
stuff of
That's
that
true.
sort, like evolutionary aberrations. And not only that, there's even some pretty ones where there's plants with like really vibrant colors, or plants which split from one shell into two different species. And
Yep.
yeah, it's very interesting. It kind of the reason why it's so fascinating, well, granted, at the beginning of the film, it's just it's a more in a more basic sense. It's just, what is this thing doing? But as the film progresses, I think what's so fascinating is because it reasserts the core message of the film and the core themes, which are tied into this idea of like cancer and tumors, right? And it ties into like the insidious nature of cancer in a sense, doesn't it? Because what cancer really does is it fails at reproducing your cells correctly, and then it starts to change everything about your body. And it changes in ways which are ultimately destructive. But its aim isn't to destroy. Its aim is just to change, right? To change things, and
Yep.
there's beauty that can come of that. But yeah, that's what I
We
think is.
need to clarify one thing though, and just for those who may not know, it's strictly because this thing is expanding, isn't it?
Yeah,
Right.
very
It's
very slowly. Yeah,
the shimmer. This, so in context, it's an area of the United States, and we have no idea what the root cause is, but they understand it came from an X, a point. So there's something that
yeah.
happened that
There's one
caused it,
specific area from
like
which it started
almost like a
spreading.
singularity, right? And then
Exactly.
this, which is so interesting because it's a blend of physics and biology and chemistry.
Yes.
It's blending every all of the sciences together in this
Yeah,
phenomena,
because
and
not it. Sorry, but it just what you're saying, because it not only changes the biological genetic makeup of things, but also it does change the physics of everything too. Because
yeah,
granted, it jams communications, but beyond that, granted, we don't know whether it's actually real or it's impacting their mental state somehow. But it changes how time passes. Like
yeah.
it
So it
feels
even
like
changes
maybe.
space
Mhm.
time at this
Yes,
point.
yes,
So it's really cool for all the nerdy physics guys. As you can see behind me, I've got what NASA just recently posted about black holes. So like, it's really interesting from like the perspective of a scientist, as well as touching areas like horror,
yeah,
thrilling. Like there's some really good. We've got to talk about this. Maybe
yeah,
maybe after we've concluded this intro, we should move on to that.
yeah,
But what was I saying? I've lost my train of thought now. So like, it talks a lot about these scientific points, as well as horror, thriller, a great kind of story. Generally speaking, I really enjoyed the story. Good acting. I wanted to just mention briefly, it's a full female main cast, something
yeah.
that's worth mentioning. I was wondering, did you have any thoughts of why that was done? Was there any?
I think it's just because it's cool.
Yeah,
I mean, I
that's
think
what
it's
I
cool
thought. That's what
because
I thought.
generally in these types of films like Predator, it's like a bunch of buff guys,
Right.
and if it's a bunch of like badass women, whatever. It's a change, and definitely one which I prefer as a man. I don't want to look at people like dudes' abs. So yeah, I'm fine
I'm
with
just
it. I
gonna
think it's
leave that
cool.
story
Yeah.
there. I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
So before we go on to maybe discussing what the plot is, maybe we could nitpick, if you'd like to, some specific horror scenes that really already should make you want to watch the movie.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I can think of, well, I can not, the last one isn't, no, I can think of 3 really good horror moments in this movie. 3, maybe 4, but maybe we could take turns. Just, I'll go first. So like
All right.
one scene that comes to mind straight away, and I'm going to leave you to choose the best one because I think you can describe it probably better.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But one thing I remember is where they encounter like a swimming pool, and it's completely,
Oh yeah.
the water's all evaporated. There's like a dead, deceased, vegetative corpse on the wall. And you remember when they find the video cassette tapes?
Oh
And
my God.
so
Yeah.
you basically find a video footage of the guys who were there in the shimmer before, and essentially there's like these worms, they're like tapeworms that are just swimming around in your guts, and it's almost like they're your organs. That's almost what the physics does to anyone who goes in this zone.
Yeah.
And that was fucked up. And like watching it on a videotape made it even more shocking because it's
Yeah. There's something
VHS level.
creepy about that, as we saw with Empty Man as well.
Yeah.
But the way it's executed too is not just the idea is so cool in that scene, because the way you slowly learn everything and it creeps up, and you learn that they were taking shifts, like night shifts, when they were trapped in that area, which is already begs the question: why were they doing that? What are they looking out for? And then you see the videotape, and once the videotape starts, it plays like this really creepy, almost Silent Hill-esque ambient, like droning. It almost sounds like a voice, like Mongolian throat singing or something like that. It starts playing as you watch this really disturbing thing happen, where they cut the guts open, and then it ends with where you see the, I don't even know how to do you know how to describe it? The thing that's on the swimming pool.
No, I tried vegetative disease mutated thing.
It looks like some kind of colorful, gross tumor that's that's like spreading for reproduction, or yeah.
If you combine the words that I said with what you said,
that's it. Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. That's a very effective scene. Yeah.
However, I've of course gave you the honor to. I think you and I probably share this as our favorite scene, at least from the horror side of things. There's another scene which I know you like and I like, but this scene, well, besides, there's one more horror scene which I'll mention after. But go ahead. You know, I know you know what scene I'm talking about.
Well, I know it's funny you're talking about. My favorite scene is still the last part, but it's still genius. I think you should talk about it. I don't know. I feel like it was particularly with something that.
All right, okay, we keep passing the buck here. So
yeah,
I'm going to talk because we're focusing on horror scenes. So there's this one scene where one of the people in the survivor group, one of those goes and gets kind of lost, or she departs from the group for some unknown reason. I can't recall. But anyhow,
they get into like an argument, basically because they now realize that it's all fucked and they want to leave.
Oh yeah,
whilst the other two, they want to finish the mission.
Right.
Because honestly, it would be kind of irrational to go back now, really. But I understand in the situation you get scared and you want to leave as quickly as possible, and then they argue and one of them leaves. So that's what sets it up.
Yeah, I didn't understand the idea of splitting up in this context. That was something I thought was really rather stupid.
Yeah, but there's always that one character who's just an absolute, not a moron, but they can't deal with tense situations, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the scene that I'm talking about, the horror scene.
Yeah.
And like I said, if you haven't seen the film, you may actually probably I wouldn't be listening to this podcast. I would definitely come back after you've watched.
Yeah, no, come back after.
Because this is probably the most frightening and effective thing that I watched in the movie if you don't know what's happening. So the girl that goes and tries to head out of the shimmer, basically what happens, she ends up found dead. At least that was what was thought. And they kind of get into this building, and I remember I forget the specifics, but they're tied up here fill in the blanks. Why were they tied up? Fill in the blanks. They were tied up at
Right.
their chairs.
So
It's very complex.
they're
scene.
tied. They're tied up because so one of their friends is found to be dead, but she's only found to be dead by the main character, and then one of the other characters is already starting to dislike our main character or not trust her.
That's it.
And so she ties everybody up and telling them that they should stop lying about everything, and
everyone's really losing their mind.
Everybody's losing their minds pretty much.
Yeah. Okay, so then I can finally share the best part.
Yeah.
So then as they're tied up and basically unable to move, you hear the dead girl's voice.
Yeah.
And you're thinking to yourself, well, that's a bit odd because she's dead. What's going on here? And the other characters, like the character who is obviously not tied up, is saying, "You fucking lied to me. Look, she's out there. Hey, Mary," or whatever her name was. "Where are you?" and then what so and behold comes through the door is well, first of all, she gets ripped to shreds by this entity, this thing. And then we find out like a bear that's swollen her vocal cords that can mimic her voice.
Yeah.
And they're all just sitting silently. It has no eyes, by the way, that's important. And everyone who's tied up is like got their mouth tied, and they're all just like shaking with fear. Fascinating scene.
Yeah, plus it was kind of like a bear wolf or bear coyote. That's kind of what it looked like.
Yeah, it wasn't like a grizzly fat thing. It was skinny and
like a werebear. That's what it looked like.
A werebear.
But it's so disturbing seeing the animal, the bear, like open its mouth, but out of its mouth comes a human voice. It's just
and it was saying like help, right?
Yeah,
like, help.
It's clearly developed some kind of evolutionary advantage where it knows that it can attract other members of the species by mimicking a previous one. It understands empathy, which is also quite disturbing.
That's terrifying.
And it's also got a plan. It's capable of coming up with more than just, okay, I'm going to attack you. That's already very disturbing.
And it makes a lot of sense that this creature, having lost its eyesight, has developed these strategies, and it's or mutations, evolution.
Mutations.
It's spine shivering stuff.
Plus the idea that it went for her neck and ripped out her vocal cords.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, it's just.
So if I may say it in clearest English, it essentially rips this girl's throat out, and you see it in, it was almost something from Saw. It was very graphic and detailed. They didn't shy away, which I thought was really effective, really honed in on how powerful this thing was, and it was terrifying, man. I don't really think there's that much else I can say about the scene.
No, all I want to say is the most terrifying thing is if something like a bear, which is an apex predator, and it's fast and also powerful and strong, something that is a threat to us, but a threat that we can manage because we are more intelligent than it, right? But if something like this is capable of like a more advanced form of sentience where it can kind of trick us, that's terrifying. Or fucked. Okay.
Yeah, and that's like a sign of what's to come, I suppose. Would you like to talk about well, there is a few more horror scenes. There's one that happens a little earlier on with, like you mentioned, the crocodile with the shark teeth. When they go into like a little abandoned hut to kind of like find some gear or to just search the place, then the water level rises through the house, and then the alligator or crocodile, I don't know which it is, by the way, but it attacks, and then it kind of comes on land for a second. You can kind of see into the gauge of its mouth right down the back, and it's
that's a cool scene.
It is a cool scene because you can see the mutation like from the get-go, what's going on. And I was thinking, is there any more specific scenes that
I can think of one more.
Go for it.
This one isn't necessarily that scary, but there is some kind of existential dread that comes with it. So one of the characters in the film is suicidal. And what they come to notice is that whatever this shimmer is, whatever this thing is, all it's really doing is just, as we already said, it modifies DNA and it causes mutations. And basically, everybody starts noticing that there's weird things happening to them. Like they can't use their hands properly anymore. They can't think anymore. It's not only a physical deterioration; it's also a mental one. I think somebody described it like the onset of dementia, which is Like,
Yeah.
like imagine just experiencing that and understanding your symptoms and knowing what's to come. That's terrifying. But the really interesting part is that most of them up until now, they're kind of trying to fight the condition when it's a losing battle. But this character, who is a borderline suicidal, she says that she accepts it and she doesn't want to fight. And you can see as she moves away, she slowly transforms into like flowers or a plant of some sort, into like a human plant. And that's both disturbing because a human has turned into a plant, but also there's, I don't know, some kind of something beautiful about
There's a bit
it.
of grace to that.
Yeah, because death, what is death really? It's the transferal of energy. Energy doesn't get destroyed.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And if it's going to happen, to be turned into something like that, so something beautiful about it. I think that's why some people like to, when they die, to get turned into trees, having seeds put in them or something like that. But yeah, that was also kind of a disturbing
I forgot
scene.
about that scene.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then now that we've kind of talked, I don't have anything else to add to that. That was, I forgot about it, then I remembered it. But yeah, from the horror perspective, that's really, I think, the majority of the scenes. Of course, there's intermittent tension throughout the film. Not like it's just that sections, but they're the most important points we really wanted to mention. I think really we've kind of elaborated on the biome, the dome itself, and then whether you want to overview the plot in a bit more detail. You mentioned the couple dynamic at the start.
Yeah,
the guy comes out because he's the only person who comes actually out of this place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I always wondered, how the hell did that happen? How the hell did he manage that? I don't remember that.
How the hell did he manage what?
Our main character, her fiance or boyfriend, when he actually gets out, he gets out at the beginning and he's all fucked up, right?
Oh yeah, we never. Well, we do learn how that happens at the end.
Yeah, I was hoping you remembered, because you have, like I said, the fantastic memory.
Okay, I mean, in order to talk about that, we have to talk about the very last scene.
Oh, that's true.
But yeah, we can do that. Okay, before we do that, we're just going to say, so there's elements to how this story works, and that's why it's such a great film, because similar to The Empty Man, actually, but this is a film where it has a general set of motifs and themes that are core to everything about it, and they come to determine everything about how it's executed. And one of the motifs, as I said, is about the insidious nature of cancer. Insidious, not evil, the insidious nature of cancer and tumors and genetic mutation, and how that obviously parallels with the shimmer slowly spreading in a thoughtless manner, and there's nothing we can do about it. And then that ties into a story about a relationship, really. And really, as we come to learn, is that the relationship she had with her husband was not like this like rosy one that's normally portrayed. They had like lots of issues of infidelity, and actually, as opposed to the cliche where it's the guy, in this case it was her. She was the one who cheated on him, and I think as you learn, she never really took him seriously. And I think that ties into the core of the film as well, because the whole reason why she goes into the shimmer is because she feels like she owes it to him to do this for him, because he did it for her as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, and this just ties into like everything about the film. But let's go into the final scene now.
Right.
So
yeah, I just wanted to, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to say that I suppose we'll dedicate the majority of the podcast to this section, as we're going to discuss in general terms what this entity is that caused the whole basic plot of the film. And we're going to theorize and theory craft and come up with some hopefully tantalizing thoughts. Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Very excited for this.
So something that is kind of hinted towards throughout the film is that this thing doesn't only cause mutations, just single cell ones. It also can create mimics. So they call it a mimic. It's a clone, really. Yeah. It's capable of creating an identical clone of other living beings. And okay, that's an important thing to take into consideration. So as we reach the final scene of the film, she gets to the lighthouse. So the lighthouse is the point at which this whole thing started, pretty much, from the beginning. She gets into it, and she finds a video, like a camcorder. with a tape in it. And she plays it, and she sees a recording of how her husband got out of there. So the way it happened is that basically after everything he's been through, the husband has completely cracked, mentally, because as we said, it impacts your mental health as well, not just your physical health. So
Of
it's
course.
just a complete degradation. And he seems to be talking to somebody who's out of the frame of the camera, and he's talking to this person in a really cryptic fashion. I think he says stuff like "Were you me?" or "Are you me?" or "Was I you?" or something like that, which is already hinting towards it. And right towards the end, he says, "Please take care of the main character's name. I forget." And then he takes this grenade, and just before he lights it, the person he was talking to enters the frame, and it's a clone of him. So what they call the mimics. So basically, he has been cloned by this thing, and so whilst it's identical to, it is identical to him. It's also not him in a sense,
Yeah.
which is, I mean, that's just a really weird thing to wrap your head around. And he lights up the pyrotechnic grenade, and he kills himself. And basically, that's when we learn that the person she meets at the beginning of the film isn't really her husband. It's a clone of her husband. So that's how he gets out.
I mean, I'm just trying to recall when the clone speaks to the woman at the start.
Mhm.
Does he say much, or does he even?
No, he doesn't say much. He gives really basic answers to questions, and it's clear that he doesn't really know who she is. He doesn't try to hide that. So
Does he know what he is?
not exactly. No, he knows he's a clone of somebody who was important to her, but he doesn't really know much past that.
Oh,
So yeah.
interesting. Yeah. So the
Yeah.
clone angle. Well, what can we discuss about the clone thing? I mean, do you buy into the idea that this is an alien entity who wishes to cause mass corruption and kill the Earth? Do you buy into that idea?
No, it's just a clone of him, really.
No, no,
It's
no. I
just
mean the because there's multiple clones that can come around through this process, right? When you enter that lighthouse building, right? Because there was one that we saw manifested.
Right, we haven't talked about that yet. Okay, we should talk about that
Oh,
first.
okay.
Yeah, we should explain
I
what it
keep
is.
forgetting
So-
because it's like there's so much to cover. But
Yeah,
we
yeah,
should,
okay.
what we
I
should
think
really talk about is the moment.
yeah, the most important part of the film and the best scene, in my opinion. So, right after she sees that video, she enters into like this little crevice that opens into like a mini cave within the lighthouse. And she sees this thing, and it's very perplexing the first time you see it, because it almost looks, what does it doesn't look humanoid, of course, but
Can I provide a thought experiment first before we discuss what it looks like? So you may think from classic television and movies that when you think of an alien, it will look almost 3D. It will look physical like we do. It would have eyes, ears, kind of some sort of symmetry to a human, right? But this movie kind of goes into the idea that maybe it's beyond what you would perceive it to be. Like it's something unperceivable. It's perceivable, but you can't rationalize it. That's it.
I mean, we can kind of see something, but we can't understand what it is. So it's very basic perception, kind of like our perception of wormholes, for example. If we were to see a wormhole, we would see it as this three-dimensional thing, but it's actually just bending space-time, and it's two-dimensional. And
Right.
Or us being unable to see four dimensions. So basically, something could be four-dimensional, and obviously we would not be able to perceive that correctly. And something doesn't even have to be carbon-based, even though that's mostly what we notice within the universe. It doesn't have to be that. And I think it's very interesting because there's literally no reason why extraterrestrial life would be anything like us. There's no reason to make that assumption, right?
Here's the thing. That's a big topic. We could discuss this for a long time, Pete, if you'd like.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, why would it be anything like us? It's unlikely that it would have the same ancestry as well. It's completely unlikely. I mean, isn't it statistically likely that if we came in contact with alien life, it would be a microbe? or some
Yes.
sort of bacterium. It's
That would
not
be
going to
most
be
likely.
yeah. But whether we get intelligent life, I don't know. That's a whole different scenario, isn't it? You know, I mean, there's no even guaranteeing that what we witness in the movie is intelligent. It's just
Well,
no. But can I just give you an argument? It might just be nature, and that's its nature, what it's manifesting.
yes, sure, but
Maybe you don't believe that though.
no, it could no clearly. Well, so okay, let's just keep describe this thing. So the first time you see it, you kind of see it in its natural form, and but through the eyes of a human being, and it's already completely. I don't know how to describe it. It doesn't look like a being. It looks like a planet, right? Or not a planet, but it looks like a some kind of obscure battered sphere with like light emanating out of it, and it seems to be sucking in matter, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Just because this is so hard to explain, I think I'm going in when I'll edit this thing, I'm gonna add in an image of what it looks like.
I was actually just gonna share my screen.
Oh yeah.
This moment.
I don't know it later.
Okay, that sounds fine.
Yeah.
So as you can see on your screen, hopefully right now, this is essentially what it is. It's moving, it's thrusting. It's excuse me. it's almost orbiting itself.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's breaking the laws of physics, and it's breaking like through more than 3 dimensions. It's completely something that would require billions of pounds and years of human study to comprehend. That's basically what's in front of this woman in this moment.
We would not be able to figure out what it is or understand it if we couldn't contain it.
But
we would have to contain it somewhere, and then we could.
If you can, but
if you can,
that's an whole other point.
Yeah.
But I found it really fascinating how her instinct is to look like she's like her eyes are glowing yellow from the reflection, right? And she's just like she just wants to touch it. Like, have you ever? I thought about that in detail, that moment, and I thought that makes a lot of sense because as a human being, your instinct is whenever you see something you've never seen before, it's to interact with it or think about it or look at it. And imagine if you see this, like, fuck me, I want to lick it.
Yeah.
What does it taste like?
Yeah, I mean, depending on how deranged you are, some people would ask, "Can I fuck it?" But
step 3,
yeah. But yeah. And anyway, it starts out and it's like looks like nothing we can understand. It looks like it may not even be 3-dimensional. It could be 4-dimensional. Yeah. But something interesting happens. A particle of blood, it flies. It gets sucked in from our main character, and it goes into this entity, and then the entity starts adopting human features, right? It reconstructs itself to be 3-dimensional and to look humanoid in a sense. It doesn't look perfectly human yet, but it starts to look humanoid. And then we have like sorry, can't believe I jumped over this, but before I talk about that, before this happens, in the moment where she's looking at it, that is, in my opinion, what movies are about. That is both auditorily and visually one of the most insane scenes I've ever seen in my life, and that is what movies are about. Because it's about creating thoughts and emotions which you would not be able to experience otherwise, because they intersperse within the insane imagery the perfect music, the perfect track to accompany it. Initially, when I heard it, because it works so well, I thought it was a track that was made specifically for the film. But actually, it's a track made by a pretty popular like house group, EDM group called Moderat. I think if you've heard anything by them, you've probably heard A New Era. That's like their biggest track they've made, I think. They're a great group, but it's a song called The Mark by them from their second album.
It's 1 minute 36 seconds long. I have it up. I was listening to it just as we were describing it.
I don't even know how to describe it, but
the whole thing is just
that song already has a very alien sound to it. And then interspersing it with the imagery, it kind of actually somehow manages to simulate what you would like actually how you would feel if you saw something of this sort. It actually puts you there.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And what I like about it, I think, if I can get this out, it's just that you don't, both the imagery and the sound don't make you feel scared.
Yes.
They make you feel What do they make you feel? Like,
Perplexed, stupefied, confused, intrigued,
yeah,
definitely.
intrigued, and also amazed.
Yeah.
Like I can't believe I'm seeing this. I'm so lucky to stand here right now, see this, feel this. It's the moment.
Yeah, it's the type of thing that happens where if it would happen in real life, you wouldn't really be able to go back to living a regular life. You'd need
Yeah,
therapy
yeah.
after seeing that.
You're going
Yeah.
in a mental bed, bro.
Yeah.
You're going a mental asylum.
Yeah. So okay.
So anyway,
Now that we've gone through that, I'd just like to go back to what I was saying. So yeah, it starts to become look like a humanoid, and then we have this really beautiful scene where it's almost like a dance, but
mhm.
it's like first contact, right? It's first contact for humanity and for this thing, where they're mimicking each other. They're trying to make sense of each other, pretty much.
But who's leading it?
Well, initially it's her that's leading it, and in a very human way, her instinct is to shoot at it, to attack it first.
Which is fair enough.
Yeah. But this thing doesn't seem to be hostile at all. It at first it just seems like it's kind of mimicking us, trying to figure out what it is we do, you know. And I think that's really interesting. Um, and then there's this part which seems violent, where it's kind of like squeezing against her. It looks like it's at first I thought it's like it's trying to consume her, but that's not really what it was doing. Like I still actually don't really know what it was doing there. Do you have any ideas?
Well, you know how the whole thing was mimic versus mimic. I feel like it was just both of them trying to push it to the very boundaries to see whether they are actually neutral. Or if they are predator and prey, etc.
Yeah, I also had a theory that this thing like obviously has insane capabilities. It can cause genetic mutations on a huge scale. So, but maybe it's like sensory the way it functions. Like it needs to touch to understand, right? Maybe that's why it was squeezing against her to try to feel her and to get more information.
Well, that's a great point though, because if you look like the werebear and the tapeworms,
yeah.
All of these things, now this may be somewhat maybe not self-evident, but for me they don't seem necessarily evil or predatory. It's just more like natural reaction and like just thinking, using like when you understand how other things think, it's just okay. Well, I will now put that into the world. Kind of, do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, it's just I mean they even say it. It's not evil, it's just changing things. From its perspective, it's not even killing or destroying anything, it's just changing things, almost like it's in its nature to do that. And like once again, cosmic horror, what's so great about it is because it accrues something that is beyond our understanding with regular human problems. And like I said, I think this is very much about cancer, because like if you wouldn't take chemo, if you had cancer, you almost would not even be able to tell that it was there, right? But there is something inside you changing things, but it's not doing it on purpose. The insidious nature of it, and I think that's why it's really cool.
By the way, I haven't talked about it yet. You have, but I haven't mentioned the cancer part. Yeah, I definitely see that. It's so self-evident, actually, just thinking about it. Yeah, but for me, primarily, it's more so a discussion on alien life.
No, it certainly is, but like
you get the poetic essence. It's like you're having a bit of wine. It's like there is a big, what would you say, a hazelnut element of cancer.
Hazelnut.
I don't know what I'm saying. but there is.
No, but it's also like with cyberpunk, right? Like a lot of people say cyberpunk is like predictive. It's about predicting the future.
2077.
No, like the genre, like in general. It's about predicting the future, but it's not. It's about putting the current social issues that we suffer in our society in a context that is so alien and so perverse that it kind of wakes people up to thinking about them more, you know? You think more about the issues with like waste and whatever, rampant capitalism, or not capitalism, but just the waste of a modern society, and how the things that you have to suffer in order to have innovation. It makes you think about them like now, just by virtue of putting them in an alien setting. So, but it does both very well, as does this film. So, yeah,
absolutely. So, how can we pair this conversation off into talking about the cosmos and really even deeper
Mm.
idea at large.
Yeah, I just have one little. I think I'll leave that to you. I just have one little like funny thing to say. One thing that I liked a lot about this film is that all of the main characters are scientists, right? They're experts in their field and they're intelligent people. And I like that the film kind of works in a non-linear manner where you kind of see what happens to the character already, because it starts off with an interrogation of her experience in the Shimmer after she's already escaped. Yeah. And something I like about her character is that for a lot of the questions that they ask, some of them are unanswerable. And instead of giving an opinion when you're incapable of doing so, she says, "I don't know." And I like that there's no shame in admitting you don't know something. That's good. That's a sign that there's things to learn. I just like that.
Well, where's the funny thing about that, by the way?
Huh?
I thought you said, didn't you say it was going to be funny?
I know. I just think it's funny that I thought it was funny that several times throughout the film she said, "I don't know." I don't know. Yeah.
By the way, I'm quoting Brian Cox. Look him up, my favorite physicist, and he states that a lot of scientists should say, "I don't know." It's a good thing to say. It means there's more questions to be asked.
Yeah.
And no one wants to be pompous and say like, "I know." So I agree with you with that. Completely.
Yeah. Okay.
So what I want to talk about is more ideas about this alien. That's for maybe the next 20 or 15 minutes that are left.
Fair enough. Yeah.
For me personally, I'm asking myself a few basic questions. One I want to ask is how on earth did this thing land here on Earth specifically?
Excellent question. Excellent.
Considering, the universe might be a little bit bigger. It's pretty big.
Yeah, there's probably like these are astronomical odds for it to land.
It's not even.
Here. It's beyond that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's big. It's really pretty fucking big.
Yeah.
But the real question here is how common is life in the universe? Because we obviously have no evidence of any other forms of life out there yet, unfortunately. Yeah. But the thing is, if they are uncommon or even slightly common, let's take the Milky Way, where we have 100 billion stars, 100 million planets. Probably likely there's some life. I know there's up to 10 planets in our solar system that are habitable that we've discovered. So
our solar system.
No, not in our solar system. Sorry, in our galaxy.
In our galaxy. Okay, I was just checking.
Yeah, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, the Sun.
Okay.
No, I'm glad you corrected me there. So it could be a nearby neighbor, perhaps, or perhaps it's someone. That's a scary concept that we're the only life in the universe. I don't like to think about that.
I mean, there is technically still a chance of that being the case.
Yeah.
But it's very unlikely. It's much likelier that there is other life out there, which is comforting. There are, of course, several different theories which are negative, like the Fermi paradox, which is the very popular one, which is that we either wipe ourselves out before we before we reach the capability of interstellar travel and of creating something like a platform for communication with other life. Life wipes itself out.
Well, yeah. The problem is our radio waves don't even expand outside of a small cluster of the Milky Way. Mm-hmm. So it's completely possible there's something in the Milky Way, just in our galaxy. It's just we can't. There's no way that they can detect us.
That's possible. Yeah, if they use radically different. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
One more thing, like that I thought was really interesting, but this doesn't really coincide with Annihilation. But I'm going to go on a slight tangent. Mm-hmm. But the concept that like, okay, if there is this alien life out there, surely they would have written their life form across the sky. Like they would be in interstellar ships. They would be painting like lines across the planet, like, making noise. But then I was thinking, how we treat tribes in like certain parts of the world who are so under-civilized, should we say? And they
this is the anthill theory. Yeah.
I like that theory. I think that makes a lot of sense, especially if you would unite I mean, that's a whole nother discussion, but like, do you think we could actually unite humans in our planet? Because it's pretty unlikely considering, but imagine that, like, if they actually see us and they see us blowing each other up and having wars. Look at them polluting the oceans. Fuck them.
Yeah, I mean, it could be the anthill theory is that when you build a construction site, you don't stop to ask the ants if they're okay with it, right? Right. We could be those ants. We could be like so rudimentary and basic that so small that they just didn't consider to ask us. They probably they were too dumb to
Yeah.
speak to them, maybe. But I feel that's a negative view.
I also
know.
don't think it's likely, that theory,
Yeah,
but
it's
it's an
unlikely.
interesting
Yeah.
theory, right?
Mhm.
And then, what does that say about Annihilation? Maybe this alien is one of those elitists that accidentally fell on our planet. Like he just
Right.
fell out of his spaceship, or something to that end, and he's just having fun because he's bored.
I would like to know why it's there. Like, is it purposely there? Or did it crash land here?
I feel like it's an accident.
An
personally.
accident. Mhm.
Just by the way it acts, it doesn't
But the
seem
thing is,
to...
if it's an accident, it's so crazy and unlikely that it would have landed here. Like that's a crazy accident. Oh, shit.
Sorry, just a sec.
Oh.
Don't worry, we can still keep talking.
Yeah, it's cool. I was okay. It's good to know that it's not disconnected. So
Yeah, we're all good.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, for me, it seems like an accident because it doesn't seem to have any purpose. At least that's discernible by what we can visually see from its existence. But maybe it does have a purpose. You can't exactly say that it doesn't. You don't know everything about it at this point. You know nothing actually about it, which is
Nothing. Only its purpose seems to be just to change things, to mutate.
Yeah, but
its
is that a
environment.
purpose? I would say that's more of like a causation, really. Like,
Isn't that our purpose as humans on this
Good
point?
point.
We kind of just change things, right?
at the end of the day, we change things and then we die, and that's changed the things.
Yeah.
And now that's.
I mean, I know animals are dumb, but if you look at it from their perspective, we kind of just we slaughter them and eat them, and like it's just we're probably causing quite a lot of damage without.
But can you imagine that? Like you have a little child and he's just understanding the universe, and you're like, "Hello, Timmy. Our objective in life is to change things. You will die one day, but please just remember to change things."
No, but that's it, right? We want to leave our mark, some mark on the world.
That's true.
That's it.
So we've kind of discussed the idea of, like, with some other ideas, how it landed. We kind of, I personally am going for the whole accident thing.
No, but also I think you're right, because I think when you see it at the beginning of the film, it shows like some kind of asteroid falling down as if it's crash landing. So it is an accident. However,
That's
it doesn't.
bizarre, though.
However, it doesn't look like a spaceship. If I remember correctly, it looks more like a meteor or a comet.
Okay.
Down.
Yeah. For me, what I think it suggests is we don't have the correct physical models to understand our laws of physics yet, and this is a prime example of it. That's basically what I kind of interpret it to be. So we have relativity, and we have quantum mechanics, both of which don't explain this phenomena. I feel like that's.
I mean, there are some phenomena which we can't explain for real, like
these, for example.
the two split experiment, the two slit. You know what I'm talking about?
No, but you can.
The one where you shoot the photons through the two slits, and it should be chaotic. They actually, through the chaos, find like some kind of pattern on where they land, and we don't understand why that happens. It defies.
Is it to do with the Higgs boson? Is it to do with a particle?
With
that's undiscovered.
You know the holographic theory.
Yeah. I was the one who was watching it recently. Yeah.
That's something we don't understand, that physics cannot explain
right
at the moment. There are certainly things that we don't understand.
Hey, not to get too sci-fi, but what if it was created in the middle of one of these black holes?
I have no clue.
That's a terrifying idea. And it comes back to make change. Yeah. Man, black holes are fascinating. You want to talk about black holes?
They certainly are. Yeah.
You want to talk about black holes? Any excuse to talk about black holes.
But I don't really understand them, to be honest.
No one does.
Really well.
Yeah. The thing I find amazing about them, which I'm sure you probably know these parts. If I know them, you know them. But like the whole idea that like space and time switch when you're close to the event horizon. And
there's time dilation and
But specific, I don't know how to frame it. Maybe it's that, but like the whole idea is time becomes the fact that you are going to go into the black hole. That's time now for you. That's your perception of time.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So like you don't even go 1, 2, 3. It's like going to the black hole. I don't know how to. Can't wrap your head around that.
Yeah, you become it. It's very interesting. Yeah, I'd like to go through one. No,
I mean, I would love to.
no, I just realized that sounds like I just said I want to commit suicide. No, I don't. I don't. I'd like to see a simulation of somebody going through one. Yeah.
So you want to see someone else get destroyed?
I want to be so rich that I could just for a giggle send
Just
somebody
please
through it.
Have
Yeah.
a camera though, would you please?
I'm pretty sure the camera would not be sending the
Yeah.
feed for very long, but yeah.
Yep.
Um,
But it'll be interesting. I don't know, 180, 200 billion years from now. No way, it's longer than that. It's longer than that, Josh. It's like trillion, trillion years. I don't know.
I don't.
Whenever
it's
black
far
holes
away.
come around,
It's fucking far
whenever
away.
black holes come around, I wonder if will life even be around then? I have no idea, but that's beside the point. I mean, black holes would be an amazing source of energy. They propel so much radiation, and of course, they actually have a temperature, which is what Hawking discovered.
Yeah, but they're also very, very dangerous. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
That's what I thought was very funny. And have you seen Interstellar?
Yeah, I have.
I thought it was funny. You have like a whole system to choose a planet from,
I know.
and for some reason you choose the one that's close to a black hole.
Typical,
really,
isn't it? Yeah. That was it did give a good view of hard science there, I have to say. Good old Interstellar.
Yeah, did a great job in a blockbuster. Yeah.
Back to the alien, I guess.
Yes.
How else can we frame the point? So we talked a bit about, like I said, how it landed. We talked a bit about its subjective existence and what it wants to do.
Yeah.
What do you think it's made out of? What do you think its laws are?
I don't
govern it?
know.
Is there any way-
What can we derive from the fact that things that we know about it? We know that it's capable of causing mutations on a huge scale on whichever surface it lands on. We know that that's kind of its purpose in a sense. That's all it does. We know that it's capable of mimicking any form of life that it comes into contact with, because at one point it actually it morphs from like the kind of like haphazard humanoid figure it creates into the main character. So it's got some insane capabilities. Like it's like if it's capable of shifting its matter in that way, there's no way for me to determine what it would be made out of.
It's it's kind of shiny, right? Before it becomes the our main character's body and
it's weird
almost
because it's like right, but it's like a dark metal, but it has like a iridescent like thing going on.
Yeah. That's also kind of the shimmer that's been shining.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's what makes me think maybe it's like an exploded star. It's the properties of some sort of. That's really where my theory comes in. I know you're not a fan. I can see by your expression, but it feels like
I'm
you're
perfectly cool with it. Yeah.
Oh, so like I feel like it's something so just out there. Like it's a star that's exploded. It's
exactly like I said, because it doesn't look like a spaceship when it crash lands. It looks like a meteor, or something of that sort. It looks like a natural structure. Like it's been. So I like the exploded star theory. Like maybe it doesn't come into fruition like humans do for reproduction of like a colony or something of that sort. It could be some kind of natural phenomenon, which is even more terrifying. That's like so beyond what we're trained to deal with. Yeah.
You know, it's possible to time travel into the future.
Yeah.
But not the past, according to Einstein. Right. So what if this thing traveled faster than the speed of light for a long time? This is ridiculous. So it traveled like into the future, and then I don't know what about where am I even going with this? So it traveled into the future, and then it just eventually landed.
You know what the best part about this is?
Yeah,
we don't even smoke weed.
Like, this is legit. This is just without weed. This is what it would be like with weed.
But also like one other really amazing part of the film that I forgot to talk about is how the being dies. I think it's brilliant the way they do it, because once again, in line of the cancer thing with the tumor, it talks about how within us as human beings, there's something that's hard-coded into us, which propels us into self-destruction. We participate in
forgot about that.
we participate in self-destructive behavior constantly, and it's not an active conscious choice that we make. It's just what we do, you know.
I didn't like this part of the film.
But it's true. We smoke, we drink, we break up, we destroy opportunities that we have. We let things go. We break bridges with other people. But it's not a conscious thing. It's kind of in our nature to do this because we're inherently flawed. And that once again harkens back into the fact that there is an expiration date to us. Our cells, after a certain point, they start dying at a rate that's quicker than the new creation. And I find it amazing how this shows the thoughtlessness of this alien. It's very powerful, but it's thoughtless, or at least it doesn't have the same kind of perverse consciousness we have. It interacts with the main character, and it slowly starts taking human themes. And basically, the incendiary grenade, it gets like the pin gets pulled out in its hands, and it realizes what's happening, and instead of like throwing it away or trying to save itself, it adopts this innate human flaw and accepts that it will destroy itself and everything it has created, which is such a juxtaposition with humans. With humans is, I will do everything to destroy what I have created. With this thing, it's normally, I will just keep on creating. And it's kind of a critique of humans as well, if you want to be very negative. But it's very interesting. Once it adopts human traits, it accepts self-destruction, and it destroys all of the things it has created.
Absolutely. But you could even look at it like the second that it became human, it did not last long. Like the second it got through all of the understanding of what it means to be human, it was dead within, what was it, 5 minutes?
Yes.
So it wasn't long.
No, because it is interesting. It was propelled by the main character. The main character put the grenade in its hand, and then it accepted it. It's interesting. It's like how easily it is for us to make that destructive choice. It's one little push away.
However, it's a really beautiful idea, but I don't want to break it, but it's also mimicking to a degree. So it's also responding and giving and moving its limbs and arms in mimic. So maybe it was just that too.
No, but then like you actually see how it takes the flames and it puts it, it spreads it.
Yeah, but I kind of found like this was a bit of political commentary too about how humans are bad, and that really pissed me off. I hate seeing that shit in movies.
It's not political. It's philosophical. It's philosophical.
I mean, it's a biological philosophical.
If you don't like an idea, you can't just label it political and put it in a box.
Politics is everything.
No. Politics is absolutely nothing. Philosophy is everything.
No.
And philosophy is everything, and politics is the most low vibration, low energy, low thought level of conveying concept ideas. You're
going to upset me now. We're going to have a very bad argument on stream.
Politics is the art of labeling and separation.
Politics also is the showcasing of value, and it's about what you believe to be true. But maybe it's not. Maybe I'm not saying politicians are good, by the way, man. Come on.
But I'm saying politics as a concept, or the way it functions in modern society, is absolutely not everything. That's my opinion.
You're welcome to have that opinion.
Yeah, just a disagreement. It's cool.
Of course. But all I'm trying to share, though, is that I think the appetite for self-destruction is a political point, more so than it is a biological and philosophical one. I think humans are good deep down. I believe in humanity.
I'd say that's more of a that's a classic. No. That's a classic religious.
See, this is what you guys do.
That's but that is a classic religious traditional view, like, of the world.
Sorry.
That's a political.
See, I had to take my camera off there. I was so disgusted. No, of course, but that would be under my umbrella idea of that everything can be political. You know, if you bring any idea forward, it can be like everything is political, man. I'm trying to think of something that isn't political. Like I have right here in my hand a Samsung phone. This is political, if you think about it, because it represents.
You choose to see it that way, but that
is.
That doesn't mean it is inherently political. You are political. Joshua Butcher is political, and all that Joshua Butcher has is his perception of the world. If his perception of his world is political, everything is political to you. But that
I hate perception sometimes.
That doesn't mean it is political to everyone. For me, It isn't.
Yes.
There's also nothing wrong with that, by the way.
Yeah, of course. It's fun to
I
disagree.
actually ultimately think that being a political person is better. It's better to be a political person in modern society.
Do you mean to have opinions?
Because it means that I mean, I have opinions, but I mean to actually desire to take stances and to get involved and to get informed.
Yeah, sure.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. I've totally lost my train of thought. All I wanted to mention was that I think the whole self-destruction argument, do you agree with it? If you do,
Absolutely. Yeah.
give us a message on Instagram at the _ Sauvignon Blanc. Let's hear what.
Oh, you're asking our fans. I think I think our fans probably, or our listeners would probably be into it. Yeah.
I'd be curious, do you believe it's a biological philosophical point or it's a political one and humans are worth good or humans are bad? I'd like to hear what people think.
Also, it doesn't make us evil or bad if we have this in our system.
Absolutely. It's just nature.
It could also be, depending on how you see it, something that through evolution, we're designed to overtake, like issues within our structure, either through cybernetic enhancements or through biological, treatment of some sort, or synthesis.
I just think. I'm sorry, man. I just want to say I think humans are just stupid. That's unfortunately why sometimes destruction happens. I think that's the root cause, not really destruction. I think it's stupidity because we are really stupid. Like we've kind of just talked about this alien that lands on this planet. What the fuck is it? Like we are that stupid, really.
Well, I think that's also, it's in the same vein as the idea of the self-destruction. It is a generalization. Both of those things are generalizations. Yes. We do tend to be stupid as a collective. The bigger of a group, the stupider we are generally. Individually though, we can be pretty cool.
True.
Yeah.
It depends. I always find this fascinating too. If you are stupid, it depends what you're comparing it to or what your utopian point is. Like,
yeah.
If your utopian point is just like be smart, read books, get high IQ, whatever, that doesn't matter. But when you talk about like humanity surviving and getting off this planet to find another planet, that's when we're stupid because we're having.
Right. That is definitely stupid.
May I ask? So tangential. Do you think that humanity will just based off your perceptions? Do you think humanity will actually unite and get off this planet?
Look, I don't know. You know what I do know though? If you look at history, everybody probably around our age, our fathers and mothers, and then our grandmothers and grandfathers, but maybe not that close, but throughout different generations, there's been a point where people our age have said, it's all fucked, right? We're stupid, we're fucked, and we're not going to make it. We're not going to get through this thing. And guess what? We're still here. We've adapted because that's our big strengths. We've adapted to the situations we're faced with. And if you look at it through that lens, statistics point towards the fact that we are going to figure it out.
And hopefully we figure out black holes.
Yeah. However, one other thing is the issues that we currently face in terms of climate change, and not only that, but the issues that we currently face are ones which are far more difficult to sort in in this short period of time, because these are things that move rapidly now, and we don't have the time to fuck about. We don't have time for bureaucracy or to fuck about. We need to start need to start now to fix them. Yeah.
That's why, I mean, I'm quite a centrist person, but I do think capitalism will have its day where it needs to go because we need to really do stuff as a collective at some point. I don't think we're ever going to survive long term without a collective.
I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with capitalism. I think what's wrong is how it's become a symbol for waste, really.
That's kind of what I mean, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And maybe one last point to add is just maybe our whole democracy thing will actually come to an end as well because we need to have one form of leadership that actually is sustainable.
I think so.
I feel like democracies have achieved, I mean, okay, I got to word this perfectly clearly because they have achieved a shit ton of freedoms for everyone, but there's going to be a day where we need to have
democracy is very nice for a while because think about it. The system we've had so far, it's been good because a lot of people, granted, not everyone, because there is inequality, but there's always going to be inequality. I'm sorry. That's the way things are. There is no utopia where everybody's equal. And I'm sorry, but this is better than it's ever been in terms of comfort, right? A larger number of people can lead longer lives and with a generally higher sense of enjoyment. And I think that's what this has allowed for us. But the thing is that this doesn't last forever, really, and you can't live in a comfortable bubble forever. Eventually, we need times of strife will come back, and that's when systems like this won't work anymore. Yeah.
So Annihilation was a really good film.
Clearly, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. By the way, any films that are similar to Annihilation that you would recommend on a little pro tip basis? Just anything else?
Anything by Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson. I know I've said this. Watch every single one of their films. You'll have a great time.
Yeah. Just shout out the list as well, please.
First film is Resolution. Then it is Spring, The Endless, and Synchronic.
Synchronic. So also I'd like to say we did a podcast on Tenet and Synchronic, specifically on time travel. Please go ahead and check that out if you'd like. If you like this podcast, you'll most definitely like that one as well, because it's both along physics and time travel. I've really enjoyed that. And yeah, that's it. Okay. Thanks for joining me. I think we're done. But yeah, thanks for joining the podcast. Yeah. Really enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys next week. What have we got coming up? I don't know. We got 2 that are going out soon. We got this going out. We have.
We're doing. Well, it's already done. We're going to be posting it soon, but there's going to be a video of Cyberpunk. We're gonna. I know Cyberpunk again, but I feel like this is important because now the dust has kind of settled on Cyberpunk, and we can kind of give not the final verdict, but just what we're gonna just say what happened with Cyberpunk, what it is, and what the future holds. And yeah.
And I incidentally trashed it. I shouldn't. I
did. And we still want to do that episode about Fixers, where we pitch a film about Fixers. Yeah.
In our next pitch episode, we will be doing Fixers, some sort of new John Wick movie, I hope. It's gonna be great. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys, for watching. Have a great day. Sauvignon Blanc out.